Well, hello everybody. My name is Roger and welcome to my channel, Roger's Reads. So today I'm doing another book review and the name of the book is entitled A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and this is written by Brigid Kemmerer. Now, I've been a fan of Brigid's ever since I read her Elemental series years ago about four brothers with magical powers. So I was really excited when I heard that she was doing a contemporary fantasy retelling of The Beauty and the Beast, though it's a little bit darker than the original tale. But I immediately pre-ordered it and read it the day I received it in the post. So, the story follows the enigmatic Prince Wren, also known as the Beast, who is the crown prince of Emberfall and who was cursed by a powerful enchantress named Lilith. Now, how this curse works is that for the past 300 plus seasons, Wren has repeated autumn over and over again, after which he turns into a different beast each time, but a beast hell-bent on destruction. So over the years, he, or should I say the Beast, has murdered his family, his guards, his army, and many, many townspeople. In fact, a man named Gray is the only living person left at the castle with our prince, and he is actually the prince's only friend. Now, the stipulation of the curse is that it can be only broken if a woman falls in love with him before the end of the autumn season. And each season, Gray, who has the power to travel to our world, captures a girl and brings her back for Wren, hoping that perhaps this time she will be the one. Of course, it's not easy to love a bloodthirsty beast, so Prince Wren hasn't been very successful in finding his true love. So at this point in the story, overcome by angst and tragedy, he's pretty much given up all hope, given that he's pretty much lost everything over the years: his family, his kingdom, the respect of his people, and eventually he knows that he'll lose his friendship with Gray. He's also ripped apart by the guilt for every vile act he's committed during his time as the Beast. And at this point, he longs for an escape from his plight, even if it means death. So, enter Harper, a young woman with cerebral palsy whose mother is dying, whose brother is in a whole heap of trouble, and with the both of them desperately trying to hold their family together. When Harper tries to save a woman who seems to be in the process of being abducted, Harper ends up getting sucked into a parallel world, Wren's world to be exact, with no way back home for at least a year. And she ends up being the latest pawn in Wren's Break the Curse game. So now Harper, she is not a pushover at all, but rather she's a firecracker of a woman, determined, resourceful, and scrappy, and who refuses to play the role of the victim. But as she spends more time with Wren and the people of Emberfall, she begins to understand just how much is at stake. Now, as for Wren, he realizes pretty quickly that this woman is completely different from the many, many others he has tried to charm. She mocks him, fights against him, taunts him, antagonizes him, but before he realizes it, he begins to fall for this feisty woman. A woman who challenges him to be more, to be better, to be who he was meant to be. So because of Harper, Wren soon finds himself daring to hope for the impossible, hoping that there just may be a way to break the curse after all. But there is a lot more going on in this story than just Prince Wren's curse. Powerful forces are threatening to destroy the kingdom, and our characters soon understand that it's going to take more than ending the curse to save the kingdom. And at some point, Harper has to make an important decision: go home and save her family, or stay in Emberfall and save Wren's kingdom. You know, there is just so much to love about this book, but I especially enjoyed the fresh, original take on one of my favorite classic fairy tales. You know, I do really enjoy retellings, and this was definitely one of the better ones, with a delightfully chilling villain, a fierce and determined kick-ass heroine, a high-stakes political intrigue that builds throughout the story, a handsome yet somewhat angsty prince, a mysterious storyline, a looming war, and the colliding of the modern world, of Washington, D.C. to be exact, with a fantasy, medieval-feeling fairy tale kingdom. This reimagining just ticked all the right boxes for me, and I loved how every character in this book became a better version of themselves by the story's end. Now, Harper was my favorite character of all. All of her life, because of her cerebral palsy, she was seen as weak, as someone who needed to be protected, especially by her brother Jack. But in Emberfall, she really came into her own and took charge. And instead of needing to be protected, she filled the role of a compassionate protector of others. And rather than being defined by her handicap, she rose above it by sheer will and determination, and in so doing ended up accomplishing many amazing things. She's definitely the least classic fairy tale princess that I've come across, and I loved her for it. So the story is told from Wren and Harper's alternating points of view, which really help the reader to get to know the characters and see what makes them tick. Usually I'm not really a fan of dual point of views, but I thought that it worked really well in this instance. And you know, one thing that I did find interesting was that I had Dark Shadows vibes while reading this. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that series. It was a whole scenario with Lilith cursing Wren for eternity because he rebuffed her, and then popping in at regular intervals to antagonize him and torture him. Made me think of Angelique, the witch in Dark Shadows, and Barnabas, the vampire. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a horror soap opera from the late 60s, early 70s. So yeah, that just struck me as I was reading it. So a lot of interesting parallels with that. All in all, this was a delightful, fast-paced, action-packed retelling of an old favorite with evocative imagery, beautiful writing, amazing characters, and exquisite world building. So though the ending was totally satisfying, I understand there's going to be a sequel entitled A Heart So Fierce and Broken. And I for sure will be picking it up because, hello, Brigid Kemmerer. But yeah, this one was a solid 5-star read for me. And that is it for my little review of A Curse So Dark and Lonely. As always, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you click the like button below. And I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. And that about does it. I will talk to you in the next video. Roger and out.